It's a battle, and part of it is we recruited 2 players last year, and we promised them an opportunity to compete for it. And as we went through spring practice, the 2 guys competed for it. Neither of them played at a level to secure the job anyway. So it's going to start out as a 4-way battle. At some point, we'll get it to 3, then to 2, and we'll have a starting quarterback game 1. But that is obviously a big question mark in the camp, and I'm as anxious to see how that plays out as much as any of you are. Coach, we'll keep you right here, front row.
Coach, Dan Tortora, Broadcast Media. You talked about that being a question mark. Besides that, coming out of the spring, what other opportunities are you looking for some of these positions that maybe aren't set in stone just right yet?
Yeah, I think if you look at our football team right now, I feel very good about our secondary. We've got 4 returning starters. I think our 2 corners have a chance to be all-conference caliber type players. I like our 2 safeties and the linebacker Chubb. We are replacing the entire front. And if you look at us offensively, really every offensive skill position right now is fluid. I right here now can't tell you who our starting quarterback, tailback, our wide receivers are going to be. And you hope we have veterans in our program that step up and take those jobs over, and we might have young guys. But that's just where we are as a program right now. We're a new staff. We have a very young team. We only have 10 starters returning, and I think a lot of years you go in and you know a couple of positions who's going to be, and you're hoping other guys step up and fill those voids. And right now, certainly on offense, we have more questions than answers. I feel a little bit better about where we are defensively because we do have a veteran secondary coming back.
Keep our roving microphone right here, 3 in a row.
Dave Gordon, Wake IMG Network. Dave, take us through the process from when you first got there in January, how you evaluate the talent on hand via film, tape, spring, and then what you have left to do in August.
Well, it was really 3 parts. Number 1 is we had some of the graduate assistants cut up clips of every player in the program. So we wanted to watch 15 to 25 clips of every player who was back. And some of those clips were game clips for guys that were redshirted or didn't play. They were practice clips. So we were trying to get an idea of what their skill set is on both sides of the football so that when we put our systems in, we were hopefully putting those guys in the right position in the new system. So it's the placement of the personnel. And then you have the off-season program, the early morning workouts, the mat drills that you evaluate, change of direction, burst, work ethic, do they finish? Part of it was physical evaluations, other of it is intangibles. What type of work ethic do these guys have? And then finally you get to spring football and you see who can play football. And again, our learning curve is still steep because when you first put a new system in, guys are a little bit frozen because they're trying to think about what they're supposed to do, and you just hope they get more and more comfortable with the system so that by the time we get to our first game, they're thinking less and reacting more.
Back row, seated in front of the light tower. Spencer Turpin, ESPN Radio here in the Triad. Coach, how difficult is it to get the kids that are in the program that you didn't recruit to trust you and your theories and what you're trying to get done? And do you think that you have every single person in this program bought in?
No. You can be in a program for 15 years and you don't have every single player in the program bought in. I think it's a matter of getting the right guys to buy in, and I believe the right guys have bought in. I think the leaders in our program, the guys that we're counting on, have seen themselves get stronger. And, a lot of it is the little measures that you don't see. Our football team just had in the spring the best GPA that a Wake Forest football team has had since they've been keeping track in 1999. So I take that as on a big scale picture, guys are doing what we're asking them to do. But it's the day one meeting is, it is what it is. I did not recruit any of those guys. They did not choose Wake Forest to play for our staff. But I treat every single one of those young men as if we recruited them. And the ones that treat us as they came there to play for us, that marriage has gone very well. But it's transition. There are some guys that were in that room back in December that aren't in that room now. And some of them chose to move on, and that's fine. We want the guys there that want to be there.
Coach, right side here by the aisle.
Coach Kenny Beck, WXII. Could you describe the role that you believe or you would like to see Orville Reynolds have this year? Is he somebody who might draw some Michael Campanaro comparisons in terms of being someone who's all over the field and you try to get the ball in his hands as often as you can, or is it way too early to make that kind of a comparison? I know he's not as accomplished on the field as Camp was.
Yeah, it's too early, but Orville certainly has a unique skill set. He can catch the ball. He can make people miss in space. We've moved him to tailback just because at that position between graduation and attrition we were decimated. And that went much better the second half of spring than the first half. We just got to see with Orville, how durable is he? How many hits can he take? How many carries can he handle? And when you're playing back in the backfield, you got to be able to protect too. And so that's an element of his game that we've got to get a better evaluation of. But I would say this, it's difficult for me to imagine us having a really good season if Orville Reynolds doesn't have a great year for us. He needs to be a key guy and be a major contributor.
Same row right here.
Coach Alex Dodd, Dodd Sports Network, Greenville, South Carolina. Opening the season, you start out with Louisiana Monroe, who in the past few years has not only competed with Power 5 conference teams, but has defeated them. Are you guys ready for that game?
Yeah, they beat us last year. So in terms of getting our football team to take them seriously, I mean, those guys came to our stadium last year and beat us. So we respect them. They're a good football team. They're well coached. I've known Todd Berry for years. I've watched his team on film for over 20 years. They know what they're doing. So, people talk about our ACC openers. We've got certainly a stretch of games before we get to the ACC that are against good football teams.
We'll stay on this side of the room.
Coach, Jim Connors from Time Warner Cable News. To that point, your opener notwithstanding, your schedule really does look to be backloaded. Is it a little bit in your favor that you get a chance to wade in before getting to the deep end?
Yeah, I would always love to have our non-conference schedule before our conference schedule. And it's very unique how our schedule breaks this year. It's 4 non-conference games, our 6 Atlantic Division games, and then our 2 crossovers. So it's a very clean schedule break. And I always feel if you have confidence as a football staff that your team is going to get better as the year goes on. I've always preferred to have the more important games and the bigger games later in the year. So I like the fact that we get to play 4 football games with our team and learn a little bit more about them before we have the ACC play.
Coach, what have you learned about the Wake Forest culture to this point?
I mean, it's a very special place and it's a very unique place, and I think we take great pride that we're able to maintain an academic level in the standards that we have academically, and also compete at the very highest level of college football. And it's been done at Wake successfully before. Our goal is to build it, and then the challenge will be to sustain it. And I was excited when I got the job, and I'm even more excited now that all those goals are attainable.
Hard left, still left. I'm sorry, we'll come back this way.
Coach Don Munson with Clawson. This is a league that defensive end-wise, really good on the edge rush and also containing. How important is that to you, what your defensive philosophy is? And I don't know, kind of a second part of this, I don't know if you've had a chance to break down film, but just your thoughts on Vic Beasley at Clemson.
Again, we've really focused on our first 4 games, so we haven't done a lot of intensive film study on Clemson yet. But I think when you have an edge rusher that can change a game, that's a dynamic part to any defense. I think a cover corner, a 3 technique, and a rush end. If you've got those 3 elements, you give yourself a chance to be a very good defense. So, we certainly want to get a guy on the edge that can win those one-on-ones, but I think as a coach, if you don't have that guy, you've got to give different people in defensive packages an opportunity to be that guy. So, for instance, at other places I've been, maybe in 3rd down that becomes a linebacker that comes off the edge, or it's a a blitz with a nickel pass rusher. You've got to create a guy that gives you edge pressure. So again, I think that's critical in any conference, especially this one.
Coach to the right here.
Gary Hahn again, Wolfpack Sports Network. You talked about Reynolds needing to have a big year on offense. Who are some of the other guys you're hoping will step up and sort of emerge and become offensive threats?
Just in follow-up to your first question, I don't know who our quarterback is, but it's hard to imagine you ever having a good football season without a quarterback stepping up and having a good year, and we're hopeful that'll happen. But certainly Matt James is a big receiver that has not played a lot, but it has at times flashed and shown high-end ability. Can he do it consistently? That'll be Matt's challenge. Our slot receiver position, whether it's E.J. Scott or Johnny Armstrong, that's a position in our offense that has to be able to get open against safeties, against linebackers, and get separation when teams play us in man coverage. And then also the tight end position. If you get playing with a lot of too high shell, that guy better be able to win against inside linebackers. So, for me, it's quarterback, tailback, and those two receiver positions and the tight end. And we've got good candidates. And I'm just hoping after going through spring football and after going through a summer that those guys are much more comfortable with the offense and are able to execute it at a higher level and play faster just because they're more familiar with it.
Coach, when you reflect on the season, how do you think you'll be able to evaluate progress?
Well, we want to win football games. I mean, that's the bottom line. Our goal every season is, the minimal goal is going to be to get to a bowl and have a winning season. Then we want to win the Atlantic, and then we want to win the ACC, and we want to be in the college football playoff. How realistic those goals are, I'm not sure yet. I'm a new head coach in a new league with a new team. And, we'll certainly find out quick enough. I mean, we open up the conference at Louisville and at Florida State. So those are two pretty good teams, and we'll find out where we're at. But I like our guys. I like our team. They're working hard. We're certainly going to face some adversity this year, and hopefully we'll be better for it.
Coach Dave Clawson, welcome.